Do you ever feel useful but unnoticed, serving week after week without ritual, thanks, or clear purpose? Notice this, that Numbers chapter 8 shows God not only needs servants, he makes them holy, publicly, with singing, shaving, sacrifice, and a visible commissioning. Stay with me and I'll give you one immediate practice to honor those who serve and to consecrate a season of your own life for God's work in this episode of Biblical Unlocks. This show is designed to help build your habit of reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, and applying it in your daily life. If you enjoy episodes like this, please consider following and rating the show. It's free, it helps me out a lot, and you can always change your mind later. Let's get a little bit of context on the chapter. So, Numbers chapter 8 follows the leader's dedication in Numbers chapter 7 and focuses on lighting the sanctuary and consecrating the Levites. So there's two brief parts. The first part is that God orders the lamps of the lampstand to burn continually so that the sanctuary is continually lit. That's going to be from Numbers chapter 8 verses 1 to 4. And then the second thing is Moses' purification. Moses is going to purify, or Moses purifies, shaves, sacrifices for, and sets apart the Levites for service, which is going to be a public rite of cleansing, laying on hands and substitution for the firstborn, and the age rules for service. So if you join in the middle of the series, think about this chapter as moving us from the altar's inauguration to the people who will keep the altar burning. It's about how God turns ordinary people into trained keepers of his presence. So without further ado, let's read verses 1 to 4. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and tell him, when you set up the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the lampstand." Aaron did so. He set up its lamps in front of the lampstand as the Lord had commanded Moses. Now this was how the lampstand was made. Out of hammered work of gold, from its base to its flowers, it was hammered work according to the pattern that the Lord had shown Moses. So he made the lampstand. So, biblical unlock number 1. God is instituting ongoing light so presence becomes a public daily claim on life. Notice this, the Lord tells Moses to command Aaron to set the lamps so as to give light over against the lampstand. So we saw it here, right? The 7 lamps shall give light in front of the lampstand from evening till morning. The reason why this is important is it's not just a technical housekeeping, it's a perpetually lit lampstand that proclaims that God's presence is not a fleeting feeling, but it is the daily access of Israel's life. The lampstand, steady flame, disciplines the people's nights, and worship is not just a morning program, it is an all-night, all-life reality. Alright, next let's read verses 5 to 14, how the Levites are called and purified, how they are formed before their function. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Take the Levites from among the Israelites and cleanse them. Thus you shall do to them, to cleanse them, sprinkle the water of purification on them, have them shave their whole body with a razor, and wash their clothes, and so cleanse themselves. Then let them take a young bull and its grain offering of choice flour mixed with oil, and you shall take another young bull for a purification offering. You shall bring the Levites before the tent of meeting and assemble the whole congregation of the Israelites. When you bring the Levites before the Lord, the Israelites shall lay their hands on the Levites, and the Aaron shall present the Levites before the Lord as an elevation offering from the Israelites, that they may do the service of the Lord. The Levites shall lay their hands on the heads of bulls, and he shall offer one for a purification offering, and the other for a burnt offering to the Lord, to make atonement for the Levites. Then you shall have the Levites stand before Aaron and his sons, and you shall present them as an elevation offering before the Lord. Thus you shall separate the Levites from among the other Israelites, and the Levites shall be mine." Okay, biblical unlock number 2. God consecrates his servants publicly, at least in this case, where the cleaning, cutting, and presenting them is so that service is a formation, right? They are formed for their purpose. So Moses assembles the Levites, they are purified, so they are washed and shaved, and they are offered to the Lord as what did we see? It was an elevation offering. And the ritual includes bodily humility, that is the shaving, making sure that you are ready and right to serve, the communal mediation, we saw the laying on of hands, and God particularly refuses anonymous service. When he's forming servants in public rites, their vocation becomes communal and accountable. This actually guards against voluntarism and the privatized piety that shows that service must be sanctified before it is deployed throughout the Old Testament. Okay, let's read verses 15 to 19 now. Thereafter the Levites may go in to do service at the tent of meeting, once you have cleansed them and presented them as an elevation offering, for they are unreservedly given to me from among the Israelites. I have taken them for myself in place of all that open the womb, the firstborn of all the Israelites, for all the firstborn among the Israelites are mine, both human and animal. On the day that I struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I consecrated them for myself, but I have taken the Levites in place of all the firstborn among the Israelites. Moreover, I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the Israelites to do the service of the Israelites at the tent of meeting, and to make atonement for the Israelites, in order that there may be no plague among the Israelites for coming too close to the sanctuary. Okay, so from verses 15 to 19, we saw that the service here is a redemptive substitution. We are reiterated again, or the God re-emphasizes the fact that the Levites become the paid ransom who maintain God's dwelling, and that a people's firstborn belongs to God. God declares the Levites taken in place of the firstborn of Israel. Moses makes the Levites an elevation offering in this case, and the reason why is because they serve in the tent. The substitution motif here is incredibly profound. The community's primary claim, the firstborn, must be returned to God through a system of redeemed service. And the Levites' ministry is not just cheap labor, but it is a symbolic ransom. They hold the price of access so that the people may remain God's. That is so important. That we see this throughout Exodus chapter 13 verses 1 to 2, then Numbers chapter 3 verses 40 to 51. We saw this before, how the Levites belong to God and how they are the ransom in place of the firstborn of Israel, and in place of the firstborn of Exodus, when we saw that the God of Israel struck down the firstborn of the Egyptians in order to make known that he is the Lord God of Israel, and that he is the one who ultimately decides life and death. Okay, now let's go through verses 20 to 26, the final part of the chapter. Moses and Aaron and the whole congregation of the Israelites did with the Levites accordingly. The Israelites did with the Levites just as the Lord had commanded Moses concerning them. The Levites purified themselves from sin and washed their clothes. Then Aaron presented them as an elevation offering before the Lord, and Aaron made atonement for them to cleanse them. Thereafter, the Levites went in to do their service in the tent of meeting in attendance on Aaron and his sons, as the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so they did with them. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "This applies to the Levites. From 25 years old and up, they shall begin to do duty in the service of the tent of meeting, and from the age of 50 years they shall retire from the duty of the service and serve no more. They may assist their brothers in the tent of meeting in carrying out their duties, but they shall perform no service. Thus you shall do with the Levites in assigning their duties." Biblical unlock number 4. Holiness has seasons, and service demands training and a season of strength, and then honorable rest. So the Levites actually begin their service at age 25 and withdraw at age 50. God actually structures vocational seasons. Youth grows into trained service, midlife is full service, and older age shifts into teaching and mentoring. This counters both the cult of perpetual youthful busyness and also the shame of aging. The Bible normalizes seasons. God wants workers who are formed, not just burnt out, and it demands disciplines and provides a dignified release. In fact, we read this in 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 17. As we read, "Let the elders who rule well be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching." So, the idea here is that there is honor for elders in ministry, and that aging is not necessarily a shameful characteristic. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to think is a bad part or the worst part of your Christian walk. Instead, what it represents is a season of formation and mentorship that you're going to apply to other people. Okay, let's see how this chapter actually fulfills Christ. Okay, let's just reflect a little bit. What did we see in Numbers chapter 8? We saw public consecration, we saw substitution, and we saw, right at the beginning, the first 4 verses, the lampstand, the ritually sustained light. All of these things point forward to Jesus Christ. Why? Because he is the one who is the light continually. John chapter 8, verse 12. Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. He is the one who perfectly consecrates God's people. We read this in Hebrews chapter 10. He is the one who serves as the ultimate substitute for sinners. Not Levites who stood in the holy place. It was Christ who enters the true holy place once and for all and secures eternal access for us. For we read in Hebrews chapter 9 verse 24, For Christ entered not into a holy place made with hands, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God on our behalf. The true eternal sacrifice, the true light of the world, and the ultimate substitute for sinners. Alright, I promised some concrete applications that you could apply in your life today. I think this is like a 10-minute action that you could do. Said making a list of 3 to 5 people who regularly tend God's presence for you and say thank you, or be grateful to each one of them. You know, maybe it's a pastor, a worship leader, a youth worker, a volunteer, a small group host. Send a brief thank you and offer one practical help. Because, you know, bringing a coffee or offering an evening of childcare or even donating to their ministry, all of these are acts of public formation and public care to support those who serve in the same way that the Israelites supported those who the Levites who tended to the tabernacle and the tent of meeting. And the second thing is perhaps a season of formation, which you can do, a small commitment that you can partake in this week. You can choose one 7 to 21 day season to prepare for service. Remove one appetite like social media, late nights, and add a training habit, 15 minutes of reading, practice, or mentoring. And you can mark its end with a short word to one of your team, a trusted brother or sister, and you need to treat service as formed and seasonal, not perpetual and private. Have down times and have times where you're really focused in, because otherwise you're going to burn out. Well, that's it for this episode of Biblical Unlocks. Next episode, we're going to move into Numbers chapter 9, which is the Passover at Sinai, and you're going to see the clouds movement. If Numbers chapter 8 formed and consecrated the Levites, the keepers, Numbers chapter 9 is going to show how the people keep festivals under the cloud and how God's timing sends them forward. Don't miss how presence and timetable send a people into mission. Anyway, thanks for listening. Numbers chapter 8 shows that God trains, consecrates, and honors those who keep his presence. If you feel stirred, do the simple name and support your Levites exercise tonight. Send one short note of thanks and offer one form of help, public care, to keep those lights burning. And you're in a story where ordinary hands house God's presence. So tell one person what you'll do and let communal formation begin. Until next time, tend the lamp, train for service, and rest in God's season. Also, don't forget to rate the show and follow. It's free, it helps me out a lot. You can always change your mind later. Otherwise, just have a blessed day. And remember, if you're not in your word, you're in your feelings. Godspeed.